Hi, now we're taking a look at my top 10 songs of the year. Number 10 going to the ASAP Forever remix. So ASAP Forever was a single that got put out a little bit ahead of testing. And then when the actual album came out, Rocky hit everybody with the remix. I think it's fantastic. It's got this T.I. intro. Unfortunately, T.I. doesn't actually rap on it, which could have been really crazy good, but I don't know. It's pretty great already. Where he's like kind of waxing nostalgic about ASAP. Did anyone ever ask Rocky what ASAP stands for? Always strive and prosper. And it's just like this real sense of like approval and of a spirit connecting Rocky and the ASAP movement through all of hip hop. This like great legitimizing force that almost makes the song feel like a classic before you've even heard it. Like it feels like a radio DJ introducing and here's one for all you old heads out here, tried and true classic, ASAP Forever. And the song too, it's mostly structured around a sample of Moby's Play. Wait, no. The song's called Porcelain, and he says play. Like, play, in my dreams. You know that song? It's like largely structured around sampling that song, and it works so well that you're just kind of shocked that there hasn't been a popular hip hop song that samples this before. I also think it's amazing that Rocky kind of comes in saying gang to the rhythm of Moby saying play, as if he thinks that Moby was saying gang in the original. I don't think he actually did, but the idea of that is very funny to me. um, the remix also adds a Kid Cudi section, which before this year I would not have been excited for at all. But based on some other projects that we'll talk about on another list, I've actually somehow become a big Kid Cudi fan. And hearing him rap in the way that he has been this year, which is all about overcoming depression, becoming confident in yourself again, being excited about making art again, being able to share the journey of your recovery with other people, and that idea being inspirational in and of itself, that really comes through in this verse in a really beautiful way over this production, which I just cannot overstate the gloriousness of. And again, Rocky's verse, it has this classic feel. It has this like very definitive, just kind of stating the facts about who he is, this organization that he's been able to raise up to prosperity. Um, it feels so triumphant. It feels like a real celebration of things achieved, not just through his career, but like in a contextless void, just looking at this song. The song alone is an achievement that this song is correct in celebrating, if that makes sense. And then after all of that, there's this long extended outro where they sample more directly the Moby song, but then have original singing over top of it. It's just beautiful. I feel like for so long, Moby has just kind of been pooped on. Maybe just because of that one line in Eminem's Without Me, perhaps successfully delegitimized his entire career. But I really think that Porcelain song is beautiful. I really loved it when it came out and I was a kid. And to hear it again, to hear it with almost this nostalgic feeling, and to know that Rocky probably also listened to it, him being around the same age as me, when it came out, and had that yearning to kind of bring it back and to show the world the beauty of it, as he shows the world the beauty of what he's been able to achieve with the ASAP project. Oh, oh, it's just beautiful. Oh, it's so good. Everything about it. So good. So good. Okay. So this one is very relevant to some news lately. I don't really know what to think of this whole story in terms of what the actual facts are. I read some stuff about him actually being from the Dominican. Oh, wait. So first I'll tell you what happened. So 21 Savage is this Atlanta rapper. Over the last few years, he's really blown up. He's blown up and he's also become more and more of like a legitimized rapper, to kind of use a loaded word there, where his first few songs were sort of like memey, I guess I would say. Like they were really latched on by like kind of a meme audience. There's no good way to put that. But he was like definitively a very like kind of trap rapper, the sort of rapper that people who are very elitist about hip hop would complain about. But in a very, I don't know, it's amazing how strongly he was able to prove his talent to those haters. How he was able to start moving into more kind of legitimized genre spaces and stuff. Again, I don't know how to talk about this without it being like really loaded and without it having a lot of connotations that I don't really wish to imply. Um, but all I'm saying is that he was really hitting like an echelon of legitimacy in the eyes of many people, and his music was just getting better and better and better. Um, when out of the complete blue, ICE, the Immigration Control. What does ICE stand for? The border control people in the States announced that 21 Savage had been arrested, that he was actually a British citizen that had overstayed his visa, and that his entire public persona was false. This is a direct quote from the ICE statement. So I think this is a complete aberration. This is a total overstepping of authority. Not in the fact that they arrested someone who overstayed their visa, you know, for better or worse, that is in ICE's purview. I'm not trying to say ISIS, the terrorist group. I'm trying to say of ICE. Anyways, and when I say for better or for worse, I mean for worse. Abolish ICE. ICE is basically a state-run Gestapo at this point. A secret police that just operates on the whims of the presidency. And anyways, the fuck ICE. Anyways, so they arrested him, sure, but the fact that they said his entire public persona is a fraud or false or something very similar to that, which is a totally unnecessary attack on his character meant to delegitimize what he's saying, which becomes very interesting when you consider a lot, specifically the extended music video version, which came out, I believe, on the physical album, because the J. Cole verse that was to replace it hadn't been recorded when the album was getting mastered. So on the web version, which actually came out first, there's a J. Cole verse, but then on the version on the physical album, there's this additional 21 Savage verse. And then in the music video, which came out much more recently, just in the last week or so, it has both the J. Cole verse and the additional 21 Savage verse. And then he went on Jimmy Fallon and did the version that just has the two 21 Savage verses. Are you following me? Is this clear? This will all be on the test. So in this other verse, the second 21 Savage verse that comes at the end of the music video, he makes some references to the Flint water crisis, and very notably, there's a line about children getting separated from their families at the border. I think it's no coincidence at all that a few days after he appeared on Jimmy Fallon and did this song, that ICE arrested him and made this statement. And I think the response in the hip-hop community has been disgusting. There's just been an endless flood of memes of him being British, making all of these references between his lyrics and British memes. Some of them pretty clever, you know. On one song he says 5'5", that's my ride or die, and then I saw a meme that had the height of Queen Elizabeth, the screen cap. You know, okay, alright, objectively that's funny, but this isn't what we should be focusing on. First off, it seems like he's actually from the Dominican Republic, and he just has a British passport. Because you often get a UK passport if you're living in the Dominican Republic. That's at least something I've read. I don't know if that's actually true. It doesn't really matter, though. Like, even if he was from the UK, is our response to a government agency trying to discredit the message of a rising star in the hip-hop community by arresting him and making totally unnecessary statements like calling him out? Is the response really to completely go along with what they're saying and make a bunch of discrediting memes and just kind of like joke about this whole situation? rather than focusing on why it happened, which again, I would be shocked if it was a coincidence that all of this happened after he had made an extremely high-profile TV appearance and an extremely popular song that mentioned children getting separated at the borders. So I don't know. This isn't why it's on the list, by the way. All of this controversy and stuff, I already had the list figured out before any of this happened. But I just wanted to talk about that too. The song itself is fantastic. Oh, all right. Here's the one that bugged me the most. The most. Google Chrome and its recommended articles section thing that you get when you just scroll down on a new tab suggested me this zero effort meme, like negative effort meme, where it was like, how many years you pretending to be American? A lot. That's the line from the song. It really pissed me off. It actually really pissed me off that they would go to such low effort to just reinforce this narrative. And again, detract from the important parts of the story. You know, like the queen being 5'5". Alright, that's actually like a joke. But this, you notice the prevailing feature of this song, which is this like E40-esque question and answer hook. I think it's great. I think it's genius. I think the little rhythmic variations of it are fantastic. Like what? How much effort did it take you to look at his most popular song, look at the hook of that song, and then make it's like almost not even the most obvious joke because it wouldn't even occur to anyone who has a functioning brain. Oh Lord. Oh, it hurts. Anyways, okay, all right, enough of that. So the song, yeah. The song has the question and answer hook, kind of like an E40 song, like some of E40's classic yup, nope hooks. What's that song called? Choices? Yeah, that's a banger. It's got a really fantastic verse from 21 Savage, the original verse, where he's really spilling his guts in a very confessional, very intimate. Well, here's the other thing that bugs me. For them to say that his entire public persona is false, based on the fact that he apparently, again, I don't really know what the facts are, but Ice's story is that he came here when he was 14. So you think that someone who has spent now 12 years of their life living in Atlanta, establishing this rap career, establishing this legitimacy in the genre, doing all of these things, like, in what way is any of that false? In what way of it is any of that fraudulent if he's actually been there for 12 years? Like, what the fuck? What is that supposed to mean? In what way is he actually British if you've been here since you're 14? Okay, sorry. It just really bothers me. Because when he talks about his life, like, he's not saying, when I was 12, I was in America. I lived in Atlanta when I was 10. When I'm 8 years old, I was still here. No, he's talking about the sort of shit that he went through as a young adult. He's talking about the sort of choices that he had to make, the relationships that he's built up, the strain that he's been through, tough times, the hard times. And, it's beautiful. And there's this line where he goes, but the other side was sunny. I get paid to rap on beats. Where in this beautiful, instantaneous moment of transformation, he goes from a very sad story about his life to this acknowledgement and gratitude of the miraculous success that he's had, of the chance that he was given, that he took so enthusiastically to make it as a rapper. It's so good. The whole album is pretty good too. I mean, there's a few songs that I'm like, all right, you're kind of phoning it in, but there's some really great things on there. I think in terms of an overall solo project, this is his strongest album length work yet. It just pisses me off. This whole situation really pisses me off. The response to it, the ICE arrest, everything. The J. Cole verse, I think, is great too. I've never been a huge J. Cole fan, and I don't know, it just doesn't really appeal to me too much. I'm more into different things in my hip hop, but I think on this track, it's great. His perspective is completely what I expect from J. Cole music. A little detached, a little elitist, a little all about like true hip hop and stuff like that, which, you know, there's a place for that for sure. And he's certainly a great rapper. Like, he certainly is coming from somewhere legitimate when he's talking about the true spirit of rap and stuff. But basically, in this verse, he, as he is wont to do, decries some things in the industry and talks about people faking streaming numbers and stuff. I don't know. Is this real? Is this a conspiracy theory he believes in? But he has this kind of like sad dejection to it. I never say anything. Huh. And it really, I don't know, somehow it struck me. I think just the quality of the song up until that point, I was like ready to get into it. And then basically he's like, despite all of that, this kid 21 Savage, I'm into it. I love to see shit like this. Um, and I'm sure this is a big legitimizing force for a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't listen to 21 Savage. So not only am I into the verse, I'm like really into what it represents for him in his career. Holy crap, we've been talking about this song for a long time. The production's great too. It's a fantastic song. We gotta move on. It's too much political ranting. It shouldn't even be political. It's not. It's not a political opinion to say that a government agency shouldn't be making statements like that. That's just the basic understanding of the role of government that everyone should share. Anyways, okay, I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Oh, this song is so great. Again, another album that maybe on a more objective level I would have put on my albums list, but this one song just completely engulfed the rest of the album for me. I love this song so much. It's so smooth. It's so smooth that I'm not even going to try to describe how smooth it is because my inherent lameness and awkwardness, even in this meta explanation, has already detracted so much from the smoothness of this song. And we're trying to make up on time. So let's just move on. Just listen to it. It's great. Beautiful, beautiful song here. I guess this is somewhat spoilers that this album does not appear on my top 15 list. So, how exciting. What else could be there or not there? This is my favorite track off Kanye's new album, his solo album that came out this year, Yay. I did not overall think it was one of his strongest albums, but there was some moments on it that really, really convinced me yet again of the inherent musical genius of Kanye. This song, in particular, is just radiantly beautiful. I kind of feel like it might have come from the Kid Cudi Kanye album Kids See Ghosts originally, given that that album has Ghost Town Part 2 on it. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter to speculate on things like that. It has a Kid Cudi verse on it, which is kind of why I think that as well. Kid Cudi verse is great. It's again in his most sort of dejected, whiny sort of mode. I've been trying to make you love me, but everything I try just takes you further from me, is his interjection. But it has this sort of sense of hope too, where you say something like that, which is a very miserable statement, and yet in the context of the overall song, which is just the soaring, radiant, joyous feeling to it, it kind of takes on this inherent feeling of, well, that's in the past. And your very presence here on this track is proof that you can move on from that sort of feeling. And then the ending. Oh, the ending. Oh my God. So this was the first time I heard 070 Shake. And I was a little baffled at first, honestly. I had no idea who it was I was listening to. Her vocals, which are kind of raw and amateurish, which have a real almost primitivist outsider quality to them. I would even go so far as to say. It was shocking to hear something like that in the circle of Kanye, which is usually very eminent people and people who are very refined in what they do. Even when he like puts on somebody like Designer, it's in a mode that is like immediately kind of familiar and approachable to us. Whereas 070 Shake is like a one-person revolution, a one-person genre explosion. Um, but God damn, is it so beautiful when she sings at the end of this. When she starts it with Oh, once again I am a child. And you think about the significance in that line going through Kanye's whole discography. It's like it's overwhelmingly beautiful. And I'm so happy with the response this song has gotten. That when you end kind of like a centerpiece song, this is the penultimate song on the album, I'm pretty sure. And it's definitely kind of the climax of the album compared to the song at the end. And you have it end with this extended long outro of this totally unknown singer singing in a strange way, singing lyrics that don't really make sense, because why would you put your hand on the stove to see if you still bleed? um, and singing in this bizarre mixed baritone soprano childish quality. It seems like it should be polarizing, right? Like everything I described seems like it should be kind of controversial or strange. And yet, everyone loves this song. Just going through the YouTube comments on the song almost makes me tear up, imagining someone like 070 Shake reading them and having everyone praise her so much. People talking about how this song comes on in the car and they just have to pull over and cry. Like, I don't know, man. Somehow he was able, in this bizarre roundabout way, off his medication, having done nothing really sane at all year, he was still able to hit a brand new nerve. He was still able to find a brand new path to beauty. And yeah, good for him. We're going to talk a lot more about Kanye stuff in future videos, so we'll come back to this idea of Kanye being uh, completely insane. But yeah, yeah. All right. Next we have. All right, this is something completely different. Completely different. This is a song from the Sound Voltex soundtrack. Sound Voltex being a Japanese rhythm game. This I don't really kind of keep up with it in terms of song releases. I just play it every now and again. But this song's reputation reached me as being a very strange, very divisive, polarizing kind of troll-y song. To the extent that a lot of people were like, "Herder, is this April Fool's Day?" or whatever. This one, I talked about how great it was to read the comments on Ghost Town. I don't like reading the comments on this one. And it is a strange song. Typically, rhythm game music is like a very slick, very consistent in certain production qualities. But this one is totally bizarre. It starts with a recorder solo being played extremely amateurishly, again with kind of an outsider quality to it. You typically will just never hear mistakes of the sort that this recorder player makes, nor will you ever hear what is very clearly just a cheap plastic recorder in professional music. And then from that, a much more kind of traditional rhythm game score emerges. It's this big orchestral, dramatic thing that just kind of explodes and emerges around the recorder player. That has like glitch elements and crazy breakdowns and solo piano parts and like everything you could want from a rhythm game sound. Especially the sort of things that I look for in rhythm games. The things that sort of overlap with some of my other musical interests, like romantic classical music or like things like World's End Girlfriend, that sort of orchestral glitch space. Um, so this is kind of where the story of the song emerges in a way that I think is really cool and unique. So the title of the song is Hitoribochi no Mao. So that's the demon emperor of loneliness or of being alone. It doesn't necessarily have a negative connotation, but it's the demon emperor of being alone. So what I think the story of this song is it's a kid playing by himself at recess. Everyone else, you can hear right at the start the sound of like children playing. But this kid goes off on his own to play the recorder. It's like as he plays the recorder, he imagines this gigantic orchestra playing around him and this um, dramatic moment that he's kind of injected himself into, where he's maybe the protagonist he gets like a solo near the end of the song where it goes back to solo recorder. And it's like we're hearing his fantasy, we're hearing the rest of the song that he's imagining in his head, which I can really relate to. I can remember being a kid and imagining things like that, you know, playing my recorder or just singing or whatever, and imagining there's like a huge band supporting me, a huge audience watching me. Everyone has fantasies like that before, right? Right? I think everyone fantasizes like that to some extent with songs they really like, and the song just really excellently captures it. I was so impressed. I think it's so cool. Um, yeah, but everyone was like, "What? What's with this recorder? What? Am I really paying for this?" Nah, nah. Anyways, here's World's End Girlfriend, whom I mentioned before. He released a 3-track EP this year titled Meguri. It's a little strange and a little haunting. I'm not quite sure who Meguri is, what her relationship was to World's End Girlfriend. His private life is very private. He doesn't really talk about what he does in interviews and such, but it kind of seems like it was his kid. Um, which is really, really sad when you listen to the last song of the album. But this this other song, the second song on the album, is really, really beautiful. Again, it's sort of in this mode of sort of a normal song structure that eventually explodes into a multi-simultaneous genre electronic classical explosion. Um, it has like really kind of joyous, fun, almost circus-like elements near the beginning, and all of these are just sort of sublimate and wash into this huge ocean of noise by the end. I think in this mode, which is a mode he kind of goes to often, this is one of his finest works. And it's awesome as a long-term fan of his career to kind of see where he's still improving, where he's still going even deeper and more extreme, but also like the kind of a restraint and a maturity at other points too. Um, it's really, really beautiful stuff. When you watch the music video, it's like this um, insane juxtaposition between floral images, which he uses in a lot of his work, which, although in this video they're constantly like fresh and flowering, it really suggests in my mind other imagery that he's used flowers of, which focuses much more on them like wilting, being consumed by insects, burning. So it's almost like the real sadness of the next track starts to bleed into your understanding of this track once you're aware of it. And once you're kind of aware of his overall sensibilities and his symbolism, that too sort of infects the innocence that you can kind of get from this track. And such that I think if this is the story of him losing a child, which is just so brutally and devastatingly sad, that the message sort of here is that this song represents his impression of how his child saw the world. That it's full of these sort of like snatches and moments and impressions of greater things, maybe things that aren't fully understood yet, but that in retrospect, that looking at these nostalgic moments with the awareness of the child's death, start to feel much more poignant and big, and kind of have this sorrowful gravity that emerges. Oh man, oh man, I don't know, I don't know. It was tough enough to talk about this one, and as you probably can expect, with the track that follows it is going to appear on this list as well. Let's take a break. Talk about Young Thug. This song is really beautiful too, though, so it's not like I'm emotionally detached from it. For a while, I had heard rumors that Young Thug was collaborating with Elton John. Um, which is a great sentence to be able to say. And what's even better is that it turned out to be true. Maybe not as true as I hoped it was. Like it would be original Elton John music, Elton John actually in the studio with Young Thug. Instead, Young Thug was just given the permission to use Elton John's Rocket Man? There we go. I had to like play a bit of the song in my head until he says Rocket Man. So yeah, Elton John, who apparently is a big Young Thug fan, um, gave him his blessing and maybe even the idea to rework Rocket Man. Um, and Elton's legendary vocal performance on that song is kind of faded into the background. It almost sounds like a memory of itself. And over top of that, Young Thug just does his thing, and it's so suited that you start to look generally at parallels in their careers and in the way they work. Think about it. Elton John famously cannot read sheet music, plays everything kind of by ear and by muscle memory and by just kind of sheer emotional force. Young Thug has is apparently never like written down lyrics as such, but instead will just use this bizarre symbolic language to remind himself when he's in the studio. This is something I read a while ago. I don't know if that's true, but I read that in a piece about Young Thug. Their fashion choices very similar in a lot of ways. The way they kind of thread a unique path between complete jaw-dropping freshness and classicness that almost seems like ironic. The way their vocals are so tied to the performance that it's like a zero barrier between their emotions and what you're seeing. I'm onto something, man. This isn't the craziest thing you've heard today. Young Thug and Elton John, kindred spirits. So yeah, the track just works really, really well. Young Thug is just a joy to listen to in any context, any situation. Um, I first became really moved by this track not that long after it came out. I was running. The album's called On the Run. Makes sense. And my goal for a while had been to run a 6-minute mile. And I did it while listening to this song on repeat. I was able to break that milestone. Literally a milestone, but whatever. Yeah. So I love this song. It's great. Okay. Yeah. So this is the closing track of the Meguri EP. Again, I don't know the story, just based on like the liner notes and the comments, because I bought the EP. Just based on the liner notes in the physical EP and the comments or the descriptions of the YouTube video, I kind of formed a narrative in my head that seems very suitable, seems very plausible, and also is so devastatingly sad that it made these tracks hit all the more harder. This one is like another mode that World's End Girlfriend sometimes goes into, which is like the very minimalist, mostly solo piano, slight instrumentation mode. It almost reminds me of like Arvo Part and other minimalist composers, people who work in Tinnabulium, or whatever that genre is called. Um, I think World's End Girlfriend is fantastic at it, and kind of the feeling of absence when you hear most of his music, which is like very complex, very overloaded with elements, and then to have something like this, you can just kind of feel the gravity of it. You can feel the sorrow and the absence in it because he isn't rushing off. He isn't spamming us with every idea he has in his head. But instead leaving us with this like very significant, very poignant piano piece. The way it fades away, the way it just slowly diminishes with like very slight kind of echoes of things that you heard before is sublime. I really could not put it into words. It's just so moving. I remember just walking around outside in the dark listening to it. And there was one time where I almost stepped on a dead seagull. I like, I just barely stopped myself, and because I saw it in my peripherals. Oh my God, what is this? It's a dead bird just lying there in the parking lot. I was like, yep. Like, it didn't even surprise me. It just felt so appropriate to that sense of quiet loss, of things just kind of quietly dying and disintegrating. It's like, yeah. Anyways, this is a new song by Vampilia. Demo song from new album will be released in the near future, maybe. This is how it was uploaded. That new album was not released in the near future or anytime in 2018, unfortunately. They put out an EP kind of soon after this, but it did not have this song on it. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if we're ever going to hear the rest of the album that emerged from these recording sessions, but I sure hope we do, because oh my God, this song is amazing. Apparently it's called Kaiju now, according to the YouTube comments when I went to get the screen cap. It's a collaboration between Vampilia, which is this Japanese metal band that I really like. They do very complex and chaotic multi-genre metal. I guess you'd call it post-metal or something. It really defies genre in many ways. Collaborating with Amina, this lady here who plays the strings in a lot of Sigur Rós projects. Really lively but ethereal music in her strings. And then the music video, which is probably my favorite music video of the year too. It's just really cool. Shows just the scope of their collaboration projects. Normally, Vampilia is like a huge band with like lots of rotating members, many people coming through to play different instruments on different songs. The drummer is this guy who performs as Ruins. I'm a big fan of his now too. I had kind of heard of him before, but because of this video, just the sort of attitude he has in this video, I don't know, man. I don't even want to explain it. You just got to watch for yourself. It's just the feeling of everybody here, all immensely talented, all immensely dedicated, all very, very cool in their own way. All of them just completely owning their image and their look and how they come across while they play their instruments. And with such a diversity of these styles and of these kind of self-images, all of them submitting and collaborating to this singular huge product, which is just a jaw-dropping song. Um, it's I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. To talk about like the structure of it and stuff, to talk about the way certain elements appear and then disappear, to talk about the passion that comes through in the solos. Like all of that matters. And all I can say about each of those is that it's like, oh, it's really good. But it's so much different to actually hear it yourself. So again, please just scroll down and just click on it and go to town. I don't know. It's I really hope that more music came out of this recording session because it seems like everyone is just completely into it. That the sort of project that can come out of this much talent together and with this much energy and this much passion. It's limitless. The sky is the limit. Alright, that's not even number one though. Look at all this. How can something be better than all of these songs? I don't even know. But it is. But it is. Number one is Glitter by 070 Shake. This is the final track on her EP, which is also called Glitter. Again, in a lot of ways, that entire EP probably should have made the top 15 albums list, but these two tracks, the opener and the closer, just are, I think, head and shoulders above the rest, even though the rest are great too. The final track especially. This song is like so special. I think it's so interesting and unique and beautiful and compelling and catchy and just wonderful, an absolutely wonderful track. So lyrically, it's mostly about kind of her rise to success, um, with a sort of like shock. It really cleanly and compellingly, and in a way that you can really feel it. It expresses her shock at just how famous she's become. Um, there's some lines about she kind of like questions herself. She's like wondering what it was she was doing to get to this point. Um, what is it? Did I want to be rich? Did I want to live? Did I want to bring what I got to the block like this? And then she goes, did I even exist? And there's another line earlier where she goes, ask before my tour, before I even exist. And it's this idea of like wondering like to what extent were you even really living before you were this artist, before you were 070 Shake, and you were making this music? Like, what were you? Like, what evidence remains of that person? And it's kind of despairing. It's almost like manic, and yet at the same time, it's like kind of triumphant too. That she's like, okay, I can't answer these questions. I can't even make sense myself of how it is that I got to this place. It just happened. But now that I'm here, like hell yeah, I guess. Or maybe not. I don't know. It's sort of ambiguous. She talks about I can just leave you with this glitter. Um, it kind of seems like she's saying I can't form substantial relationships anymore. I can't be a real person to you anymore. All I can be in your eyes is just glitter, like the most uh, like ethereal, non-existent, just scattered into the wind aesthetic quality. That I know that I'm never going to be able to connect with you more than just as glitter. It's like a very haunting, sad idea, and yet beautiful in its own way. That this is probably the truth of a lot of artists. This is probably how it really feels to make it. Is that you lose yourself, you lose your friends, you lose any sort of history that is your own. Everything belongs to the world now. You've scattered yourself out there like glitter. And if that's what everyone is doing, if that's the how everyone on this list feels, I can't hate it. I still love the music so much that it's like it's a necessary sadness. It's a necessary tragedy. It's that you've sacrificed yourself for the sake of something beautiful, for the sake of something huge. And and I really feel like the song gets that across in both its sad and its beautiful qualities. Especially at the end. Oh my God, the ending of this song. The way it just sort of devolves, the way it falls out of meaning, it falls out of words. Um, I can like I can barely even comprehend it. Just trying to like imagine it in my head now. It's like no, it can't be that good, but it is. It is. It's like her disappearing. It's her like sublimating into her own song. Oh man. Oh, and this is like the start of her career. Oh my God. Like this is her first EP. This is just 6 songs. 6 songs. They're also 6 songs, but I meant to say 6 songs. Where is she gonna go from here? If she's already able to tackle these gigantic questions, these huge existential moments of what it means to be an artist, what it means to be a human. Like the future is so bright for her. I can honestly imagine her making like big albums of the year, albums that I'm like super pumped about and will like never shut up about. Just in a few years from now, like I feel like I'm glimpsing my future when I hear this music. Or at the same time, I don't know, maybe this is it. Like maybe it's actually unsustainable for her. Maybe these sort of things that she's wrestling with on this music are going to win, and she won't go on to make music, and like that's possible too. Or maybe she will go on to make music, but it can't live up to this, and it she's sort of drowning in her own success, and those would be really sad outcomes. Those would be really tragic outcomes. But if that's the case, then this song will be then retroactively imbued with an even greater sense of like tragic beauty and of a really fleeting glitter-like beauty. Oh man. Oh god, I love this song so much. Like, I don't know how she did it. It's just so good. So man, Kanye, like, for all the questionable things he did last year, and there were a lot. There were a lot of really poor decisions he made, and very stupid things he said. But introducing the world to 070 Shake, giving her a platform, allowing millions and millions to hear her voice and to fall in love with it, that was good. That was a good move. That was maybe one of the best moves of his career. Alright, that's my list. This video went pretty long, mostly because we talked a lot about a lot. That's a joke, see? I feel like there's probably songs I forgot about that I definitely would have wanted to put on this list, and yet I would have wanted to talk about all of these songs, so it would have just made it longer and longer and longer. Let me know if you would like me to talk about music more and more and more, because that's certainly an option. But yeah, check out these songs. Please recommend me songs too. I love listening to music I haven't heard before. And yeah, all right. Bye-bye.